The movie opens in the year 1944, during the final stages of World War II, in the remote wilderness of Finland. As the war nears its end, most armies begin retreating to their homelands. The Nazi troops, too, are ordered to evacuate Finland. But before they leave, they unleash destruction across the country, demolishing every road, bridge, and village in their path. Amidst this chaos, we meet Atami Korpi, a former Finnish commando who has chosen to abandon warfare in search of peace. After resigning from the military, he retreats deep into the Finnish wilderness, accompanied only by his loyal dog and horse. One day, while wandering along a riverbank, Atami discovers gold nuggets in the water. Convinced there's a hidden gold deposit nearby, he starts digging around the area every day. Days pass, and eventually, Atami unearths a massive cache of gold buried in a pit. Overwhelmed with joy, he breaks into tears, knowing this discovery will forever change his life. He carefully hides the gold in his tent and guards it throughout the night, afraid that someone might steal it. The next morning, he loads the gold into a bag, mounts his horse, and begins his journey toward the nearest town, his dog trotting closely behind. After riding for several hours, Atami encounters a convoy led by a brutal Nazi officer named Bruno, who is passing through the area with his men. Along with them is a massive tank and several Finnish women, been kidnapped, victims of the soldiers' repeated abuse. One of Bruno's men, Wolf, is seen harassing one of the women, revealing the depth of their cruelty. Atami catches sight of the convoy but avoids making eye contact, silently continuing on his path. Sensing something suspicious, Wolf approaches Bruno and offers to shoot Atami, but Bruno stops him, remarking that the old man is already walking toward his death. The next Nazi patrol lies ahead. Atami continues forward and comes across a grisly sight, bodies strewn across the path, evidence of the Nazis' brutal march. He remains unfazed. After all, he too had taken many lives during the war. Shortly after, Atami is stopped by another Nazi truck carrying 4 soldiers. They order him off his horse and inspect his bag, discovering the gold inside. Realizing they intend to steal it and kill him, Atami quietly signals his dog to run. As the dog bolts, one of the soldiers fires, but the bullets miss, and the dog escapes safely. One of the soldiers mocks Atami for being an old man and prepares to shoot him. But in an instant, Atami draws his knife and slams it into the soldier's head, killing him instantly. Another soldier charges at him in retaliation, but Atami fights fiercely, stabbing and slashing with precision. He even uses a soldier's body as a human shield and bludgeons another with a helmet until he collapses. The final soldier grabs him from behind, but Atami twists the man's arm and shoots him dead with his weapon. Meanwhile, Bruno and his men hear the gunfire and rush back to investigate. But by the time they arrive, Atami has already vanished. Bruno finds the corpses of his 4 men and notices a piece of gold clutched in one soldier's hand, something he had tried to hide. This confirms Bruno's suspicion: the gold belongs to the old man they let pass, and he was the one who killed his men. Furious and greedy, Bruno vows to hunt Atami down. Before long, they spot him riding in the distance. Bruno commands his tank to open fire, but Atami accelerates and narrowly escapes, disappearing into a dangerous minefield, an area rigged with explosives by retreating Nazi forces. Bruno catches up to the field but tells his men not to shoot just yet. Instead, he laughs and warns them about what's coming next. Just as Bruno watches from a distance, he laughs and tells his men that the old man is about to be blown to pieces. Moments later, Atami's horse accidentally steps on a mine, triggering a massive explosion. Though Atami survives with injuries, his loyal horse is killed in the blast. Bruno arrives soon after and watches as Atami, bloodied but alive, begins collecting his gold again. Bruno, unwilling to risk entering the minefield, decides to stay put, waiting for the right moment to strike. He watches patiently as Atami gathers every last piece of gold into his bag. But Atami is always one step ahead. Anticipating an ambush, he quickly grabs a stone along with his gold and hurls it onto a nearby mine. The explosion kicks up a cloud of dust and debris, creating the perfect cover. Hidden in the smoke, Atami shields himself with a metal plate and stays low while the Nazi soldiers begin firing blindly into the haze. Bruno, still cautious, sends one soldier forward to investigate. But the moment the soldier steps on a mine, he's blown to pieces. Shocked but undeterred, Bruno sends 2 more men, both of whom meet the same explosive fate. As the smoke settles, it becomes clear that Atami has already vanished. Furious, Bruno devises a ruthless new plan. He decides to use the Finnish women they had kidnapped as human shields to clear the minefield. Wolf selects the most terrified of the women and forces them to walk ahead of the tank. As this is happening, Bruno searches the area and finds a small dog tag, belonging to Atami's dog, confirming that the old man had indeed passed through. To learn more about Atami, Bruno contacts his superiors via radio. The response is chilling. The officer identifies the man as Atami Korpi, warning Bruno not to pursue him. He explains that Atami is no ordinary man, he is a legend. During the war, Soviet troops had slaughtered Atami's entire family, turning him into a cold and unstoppable killing machine. He disobeyed all orders and refused to be controlled. Eventually, his commanders gave up and unleashed him into the wilderness to hunt Russian soldiers alone. Since then, Atami has reportedly killed over 300 Soviet troops single-handedly. The officer ends the transmission by saying, "They say Atami is immortal. Don't follow him." But Bruno, blinded by greed and desperation, ignores the warning. With the war nearly lost, Bruno knows he and his men face punishment once they return home. He believes the stolen gold is his only way out, the key to buying his freedom. Determined, he presses forward in pursuit of the lone warrior. Meanwhile, Atami stumbles upon an abandoned, broken-down truck and collapses behind it. Wounded and exhausted, he begins treating his injuries with grim resolve, digging out bullets with a knife and packing his wounds with dust to stop the bleeding. Just then, his dog reappears, watching him from a distance. Atami gently signals for the dog to stay away for its safety. Too weak to stay alert, Atami eventually dozes off. Hours later, the sounds of approaching vehicles and barking dogs jolt him awake. Nazi troops have arrived and are now using sniffer dogs to track him. Realizing he's in danger, Atami quickly crawls underneath the truck to hide. In a desperate move to mask his scent, he slices open the truck's fuel tank and douses himself in diesel, making it impossible for the dogs to trace his smell. As the Nazis search the area, unaware that their prey lies just beneath their feet, Atami quietly waits, calculating his next move. The hunt isn't over, it's only just begun. As the soldiers grow suspicious, they pause their search. Atami tries to escape, but one of the sniffer dogs spots him and begins barking, alerting the Nazis to his location. Gunfire erupts, and Atami is shot in the leg, but he doesn't stop. He pushes through the pain and escapes once again. Enraged, Bruno releases his dogs to hunt him down. To scare them off, Atami does something extreme. He sets himself on fire and dives into a nearby lake. The soldiers open fire at the water, surrounding the area. Bruno stands by the shoreline, waiting for Atami to resurface. Time passes, but Atami doesn't emerge. Eventually, blood starts rising to the surface, leading the Nazis to believe he's finally dead. 3 soldiers head out onto the lake in a boat to retrieve the gold. One of them dives into the water to investigate, but Atami is still alive. He grabs the man underwater and kills him. Blood spreads across the surface, alarming the others. Bruno sends in 2 more soldiers, who quickly disappear beneath the water, followed by another cloud of blood. The 3rd soldier, terrified, tries to escape with the boat, but Wolf shoots him in a fit of rage. Just then, Atami bursts out of the lake, using the dead bodies of the soldiers as shields to protect himself from the incoming bullets. On the shoreline, Atami's loyal dog whimpers. He can see his master, but the water keeps him from reaching him. Bruno takes notice of this and begins formulating a new plan. Meanwhile, Atami finally reaches a ruined town that had been destroyed by Nazi forces. Exhausted and wounded, he takes refuge inside an abandoned gas station. As he tries to rest, haunted memories of his lost family flash through his mind. Drifting into sleep, he's suddenly awakened by the sound of his dog barking. Rushing outside, Atami is horrified to see that the Nazis have strapped dynamite to his dog. Without hesitation, he rips the explosive device off and throws it far away. It detonates mid-air, launching Atami backwards with immense force. When he regains consciousness, he finds himself captured by Bruno, who has stolen his gold and left him hanging by the neck. Before leaving, Bruno mockingly places a single gold coin in Atami's pocket. But Atami isn't dead. He manages to rest one foot on a hook embedded in the post to keep from suffocating. With gritted teeth and sheer determination, he brings his other leg up as well, bearing unimaginable pain. Below, his loyal dog waits anxiously, refusing to leave. At dawn, a plane lands nearby. The wind from the propellers shakes the structure just enough to break Atami's noose, and he collapses to the ground. 2 pilots step out of the plane, searching for fuel. Instead, they find Atami and his dog. One of the pilots orders the other to shoot them, but he hesitates, terrified. Sensing an opportunity, Atami strikes. He kicks the man in the legs, slamming his head against a rock, knocking him out. When the second pilot rushes over, Atami grabs a stone and kills him with a powerful blow to the head. Despite this small victory, Atami begins to accept the possibility that he may never retrieve his stolen gold. In a symbolic gesture, he buries the single gold coin Bruno had left in his pocket. Just then, he notices the first pilot is still alive. Without wasting time, Atami decides to hijack the plane and use it to pursue Bruno. But before that, he must tend to his wounds. He digs out metal fragments and bullets from his body, cauterizes the wounds with fire, and seals them using wire. The pilot watches in horror as Atami performs this brutal self-surgery. Atami leaves his dog behind and heads out, more determined than ever to reclaim what's his. Elsewhere, Bruno's convoy encounters the crashed plane, and Wolf investigates. Inside, he finds the pilot's corpse and something even more chilling, the same rope they had used to hang Atami, now wrapped around the pilot's neck. Wolf realizes Atami is still alive and coming for them. Bruno too understands the danger and orders his men to flee. Meanwhile, 2 Nazi soldiers sit with the Finnish women and talk about the legend of Atami Korpi. One of the women, Ino, laughs and tells them that countless Russian soldiers had tried and failed to kill Atami. He always survives, no matter how badly he's wounded. He returns to destroy his enemies. She explains that in Finnish, he is called Sisu, meaning bravery, resilience, and unbreakable spirit. Ino smiles, knowing that Atami will kill every last one of them. Right then, Atami strikes. He kills one of the soldiers instantly, tossing his lifeless body to the ground. The second soldier peers outside the truck, only to be dragged out and thrown under a tank by Atami. Inside the truck, Ino tries to grab a weapon from one of the fallen soldiers. Just then, Atami steps inside the vehicle and looks at the women. Atami realizes the Finnish women have been kidnapped by the Nazis and are completely innocent. Without hesitation, he climbs onto the truck, kills the driver, and throws him out so that Aino can take control and help him. She drives the truck closer to the enemy tank while Atami prepares for his next deadly assault. Sensing something is wrong, the soldiers inside the tank grow suspicious. Meanwhile, the women cleverly use the dead soldiers' bodies as cover to keep up the illusion. Aino maneuvers her truck close to another, allowing the women to ambush the remaining Nazi soldiers. She even shoots the enemy truck driver, sending the vehicle crashing off course. As Atami tries to disable the tank, Bruno regains control and knocks him off the vehicle. Wolf steps out to finish Atami off, but the relentless warrior quickly climbs back on top and begins fighting him. Both of them eventually fall to the ground in the struggle. Inside the tank, only Bruno and a soldier named Schütze remain. Schütze, terrified, runs for his life while Atami begins beating Wolf to death. But before he can finish him, two Nazi soldiers arrive on a motorbike, only to recognize Atami and immediately flee in fear. Atami decides to spare Wolf and instead takes the motorcycle to chase down the tank. As Wolf watches him ride off, he assumes Atami let him live. Moments later, the Finnish women arrive and exact their revenge on Wolf. Meanwhile, Bruno finds a pilot and prepares to escape. But the pilot informs him there's only room for one passenger. Without hesitation, Bruno shoots Schütze to secure his seat and boards the plane. Just as the plane starts to take off, Atami appears and opens fire. Knowing he has little time, he grabs an axe and leaps onto the plane, clinging to its undercarriage as it lifts off. Bruno assumes he's left Atami behind. But inside the cargo hold, Atami begins climbing into the plane, using his axe to pry his way in. As strange noises echo through the aircraft, the pilot reassures Bruno that the plane is old and such sounds are normal. But Bruno, growing suspicious, goes to inspect. The moment he opens the door, Atami bursts in and attacks. Despite being severely wounded, Atami fights with everything he has. Bruno overpowers him for a while and strikes him with a metal belt. But Atami catches the belt mid-swing, ties it to a bomb, and tosses it out the open door, dragging Bruno with it. The bomb explodes mid-air, killing Bruno once and for all. Exhausted and bloodied, Atami tries to rest, but the plane begins to nosedive. During the fight, the pilot had been fatally shot, and now the plane is going down fast. With no options left, Atami grabs his bag of gold and braces for impact. Miraculously, the plane crashes into a swamp, and the muddy terrain saves his life. Back on the ground, Finnish villagers spot the captured Nazi tank approaching. Ready to defend themselves, they prepare for battle, only to discover the tank is being driven by the Finnish women. They've tied Wolf to the barrel of the cannon as poetic justice. Meanwhile, Atami, covered in mud, slowly emerges from the swamp using his axe to pull himself out. Days later, he walks into a bank, his loyal dog by his side. The moment he enters, everyone freezes in fear. But Atami calmly approaches the counter, opens his bag, and lays the gold bars on the desk, requesting to exchange them for cash. And with that, Sisu comes to a thrilling and satisfying close.